What is up YouTube, and today we're going to be talking about the new Mystic banner that is rotating in, replacing Eternal Wanderer Ludwig. Now this banner will feature 4 Moonlight 5-star units, Specimen Sez, Spirit Eye Celine, Belian, and Judge Kisei, and the 4-star ML unit, Moon Bunny Dominiel. So we're just going to be talking about which one you want to pull for, if there's any that there are worth pulling for, and if the ML 4-star Moon Bunny Dominiel is worth it. Hint hint, she is one of the best Moonlight 4-stars in the game, if not the best currently, so definitely worth it. So yes, let's start from the top here. Let's talk about the best unit on this banner. That is going to be Belian. This should be no surprise to anyone. Belian is the last boss of episode 3. She is the best unit in this list because of her S2. Basically what she does is she stops soul gain, including from Toghel's ancient book or artifacts. So if you actually bring her against cleave teams or team comps that really rely on souls, such as like Spectre Tenebria teams, she shuts them down completely. She also has a lot of debuffs with her S1. Her S1 can dispel one buff and then actually activate an extra attack that can decrease speed and decrease hit chance. Super annoying. And her S3, which will actually do an AoE attack, decrease CR by a random amount, and provoke, and also increase defense. And she actually hits pretty hard for a knight because of the fact that her scalings that are pretty decent. Also, her S2 gives her a random buff at the start of every turn. It's going to be effectiveness, crit chance, or healing, which makes it so that it's even easier to land her buffs. It's even easier to actually do more damage because you only need to build her on 50% crit. And also she has built-in sustain, so extremely powerful unit. She shuts down a lot of teams. Most notably right now, she is a great counter to like cleave compositions, and always will be because of her S2. Souls are very important in cleave comps, especially because it will allow you to ignore effect resist and stuff like that with like Rand's S3, Noggle's S3, Lua's S3, you get what I'm saying? So Belian is a very powerful unit for PvP. She is common on some defense teams for Arena. She is very often seen in World Arena, especially when Cleave and Aggro team comes out. But she does have some notable counters, right? So because she has all AoE attacks, she gets countered by counter-attacking units like Navy Captain Landy and like Abyssal Euphine. She also gets shut down by Last Rider Kraus. You have to be careful, but I think Belian is a very good unit. Honestly, if you're struggling against Cleave and you need a really good answer, Belian is the best option. She's not as broken as before. There's some other options you can choose instead of her against Cleave, but there aren't really any units that can actually shut down an entire mechanic in the game like Belian does, like souls. So I think she's a very good option. If you guys don't have her, I think she is a very good unit to pull for because she's just super powerful in PvP and will always be because of her S2. The second best unit on this list we're going to talk about is Spirit Eye Celine. Spirit Eye Celine is a very powerful unit, especially after her buffs. I don't think she's as easily pickable as Belian, to be honest. And even Belian is hard to pick blindly, especially early on into the draft. But Spirit Eye Celine has a ton of counters, and we'll talk about what. So her S3 is a full dispel from herself and will make her possessed. When she's possessed for 3 turns, which is undispellable, she will counterattack whenever she suffers a crit, and she'll lifesteal a ton of that damage back. She also will revive allies with her S3 and grant immortality to all allies for 1 turn. So not only do you revive allies, but you'll make it so they can't die unless they get stripped. Her S2 is going to be 6th Sense. Basically, it's going to be an effect where you can't actually take more than 50% of your max health in an attack. So it makes it so that you need actually to get hit, I believe 3 times actually, because it's 50%, right? And she also has that counterattack with lifesteal, so it's really hard to kill her, especially because of this passive, so you can build her very squishy. Also, whenever somebody dies, she gets 5 souls for her team, which is very nice, and also will decrease her S3 by 1 turn. And the souls are very good because of her S1. Her S1, a lot of text, this skill is super broken. Basically, it's like a single target attack. When you're possessed though, you'll actually activate Nimble Sword. Nimble Sword dispels 1 debuff before penetrating defense in a single target attack. Actually, you have a 50% chance to actually proc this without being possessed, but with possession on your Spirit Eye Celine, it becomes 100%. Basically, if this Nimble Sword procs, it does crazy damage. Like, this is one of the hardest hitting S1s in the game by far. And if you soul burn this, you'll grant yourself an extra turn. So the reason why this is nice is because when people die, you're getting souls, your S3 cooldown's going down, and after you generated like, I don't know, 20-40 souls, what you can actually do is soul burn your S1 once or twice and reactivate your S3 to re-put up your buff and re-revive your allies. So it becomes very annoying to fight her. She can actually solo carry against a lot of teams. The way you counter her though is going to be with non-crits, so she can't counter, so like LRK, burn units and stuff like that. There's a ton of units you can do. Even tanky units that don't really have any damage built in can take her down eventually. And also with additional damage effects like Eye Celine with her Rocket Punch Gauntlet, That artifact just completely shuts her down, which is why she's not as blind pickable anymore, because you have units like Pillis running around with it. Rimuru shuts her down, right? Anything with extra damage can shut her down very easily, so you have to be careful about that. Otherwise, she is a very solid last pick or end of the pick in drafts, and she is super powerful there. She's also very good in Guild Wars defense and can be good in Guild Wars offense to bait dark units, so she's a very solid unit. I think if you already have Belian, or if you don't want Belian, Spirit Eye Celine is a decent unit to have. She's honestly not like super OP, I'd say she's just decent, but she's very, very fun to use in my opinion. Next up, we have Specimen Sez and Judge Kisei. I'm going to rank them together as like the third best, probably the worst of the bunch. They're one of the worst Moon Knight 5-stars in the game. So the problem with Specimen Sez is, yes, he's super fun to use, but he's very gear heavy. He's a thief, so he's very squishy, but you want him to be decently tanky because you want him to counterattack. It's just weird how to use him. Also, you want some effectiveness so you can land your stuns, especially in the current meta where there's so many cleansers, immunity buffs, and just like high ER units, and because of that, it's hard to actually take advantage of this. He has to work with another unit that can stun for him usually, and then he S3s to one-shot them, and it's just really hard and gimmicky to use. If you actually get cut by a cleanser and they cleanse, like his entire setup gets ruined. So because of that, he is just not that great. I think if they reworked him so he has like I don't know, ignore effect resist or something, because that makes every unit good, right? I think he'd be pretty decent. But for now, I think it's really hard to use him. He just has too many things that he needs to get going for him, like a stunner. He needs another unit to strip. He needs the enemy not to cleanse, and he needs to take that turn. He needs to be alive when he's taking that turn, so it's very hard to use him because he is a thief and very squishy, like I mentioned. So I think he is just not a good unit. Also, Judge Kisei, she is like a cleave, opening, like cooldown pushing unit, which is really weird. She's a warrior as well, which makes no sense. It'll make way more sense if she was like a ranger. Because of that, her speed tier is very low. So if you try to build her very fast, you're sacrificing a lot of damage and also a lot of effectiveness. If you build her on full damage, she can't take the first turn, and she has like no survivability built in, so she just dies. So you kind of see what I'm saying. She's gonna work as like a unit that needs to get boosted up by like a support unit, and because of that, I think they're just not that great. Really, units that need support from other units, you can slot in a ton of units in their place. Like Specimen Sez, you can slot in basically any single target nuke unit, like Strays or anything, like Watcher Shuri, and it pretty much does the same thing. Judge Kisei, the same thing if you slot in any other unit that can, like, you know, CC the enemy, like Noggle instead. Way better with Guiding Light and like way more utility. Or if you want an AoE damage dealer, you can slot in like Strays again, or even like a Ran or like Pavel or anything that does AoE damage. Commander Pavel as well. You can see what I'm saying. Like, it's just really hard to use them. They just require too many things to get going. And honestly, even in Arena and Guild Wars, where it's like AI kind of, it's very hard to use them because pretty much everything counters them. So yeah, very hard to use. I think Belian is by far going to be the best pick here. We have her skin coming out as well, which looks amazing. And then Spirit Eye Celine is also a solid pick that is very fun to use. Now for the Moon Knight 4-star, we have Moon Bunny Dominiel. Honestly, this unit alone kind of makes it worth going for. So if you don't have like Belian, and you're going on this banner, of course you still want to be switching your pity to the 5-star. You never want to go for the pity on the 4-star. It's never worth it because 4-stars are easy to get eventually compared to 5-stars. So while you're going for Belian, if you get Moon Bunny Dominiel, you should be very happy because this unit is super strong. Honestly, she sees more play than Belian. That's how strong she is because of the fact that her S2 counters extra turns. It gives you immunity, a cleanse, skill nully. She has a built-in CR push, attack buff, and barrier in her S3. And her S1 is very annoying. The sleep is super strong actually. So because of that, she's very often seen into Concrelius, very often seen into Luas, Noggles, Lionheart Sturmias she's very good against because they also have extra turns. Spectre Tenebria she's good against. So you get what I'm saying. Very powerful unit. Honestly, I'd say out of these 5 units, Moon Bunny Dominiel is the best unit, to be honest, right now. But because I said, and like everyone says, going for the pity on the 4-star is not worth it because 4-stars you get very easily from these Moonlight summons, which you should be getting a ton of with these summon events. You'll be getting a ton of these gold transmit stones. You can see 4-star Moonlights are like almost 30%, right? So it's very easy to get them eventually. And there's not a long list of Moonlight 4-star units. I guess it's longer than before because the times have changed, but eventually you'll be able to get like most of these just by playing the game. Whereas Moonlight 5-stars, it's way harder to get. So what you actually want to do is always be summoning on this or the 5-star pity, unless you're like a Giga Whale, obviously. So while you're pulling for Belian or while you're pulling for Spirit Eye Celine, because you like Spirit Eye Celine or you think she's very strong or you want her, if you get a Moon Bunny Dominiel, it is a very good bonus because she is one of the best PvP units in the game currently. very high priority in RTA, and very strong in Guild Wars offense. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this Mystic banner. I guess it's running in 2 days of this video, starting on the 28th of December. As a bonus, we have Politis here, who is a very good RGB unit, good against cleave, good against units that want to see our push. Not as good as before, but still very powerful, also good for cleavers. And we also have Indestructible Gators, which is very good on Inferno Kawazu, which people like to use into ML Landy, Lone Crescent Bologna, and even like LRK. So, you know, if you actually go for these ML 5 stars like Belian or Spirit Eye Celine, you have so many bonuses coming, so definitely worth it. Hopefully this video helped you guys out, guys. If it did, make sure you guys hit that like button, and I'll see you guys next video.